September 20th, 2019. Joe here at Simple Life Show. SimpleLifeRemedy.org is the website to tune into. I just want to do a quick video here. Obviously, racism, white supremacy, white privilege is always in the forefront of the conversation. Anytime you turn on the news, anytime you read anything, there is always something out there. You don't have to really search too hard for it. This article, September 18, 2019, Racism in America from Trump's Hate to Biden's Paternalism. Now, Biden's been thrown under the bus a lot here recently, and I kind of feel bad for him because I really don't want to see him win, but on the flip side of the coin, I don't want to see, something terrible happens and Trump isn't reelected. I would rather see Biden in there. I mean, I used to be a Democrat. Of course, all the Democrats on the stage have completely fled from the idea of what it used to be a liberal. Of course, true liberalism now is more like a form of libertarianism, I guess, and even less conservatism. Of course, that could be debated as well. But, I'm going to vote for Trump just simply because, I was a Democrat before and I voted for Obama twice. I thought that he did a terrible job. I think that he really had his downfall in the second term because he really didn't accomplish anything. It seems like that Trump really does care about this country, and he wants to see it going in the right direction. Now, this whole idea of Trump being a white supremacist, I could talk about this for hours, and I'm sure no one would really want to hear that, but this really isn't about white supremacy. It's not about racism. In the recent Democrat debate, it seems like that Trump and racism and white supremacy was brought up more than anything else. Nothing was really talked about besides how much they hated Trump and how much white people should feel bad about being white. And I'm not even white. I'm Native American. I'm part Native American. And I can't stand it when there's always some sort of agenda out there to make other people feel bad for who they are or what race they were born. I mean, that is the most illogical thing to do, and it's a very dangerous philosophy because it really divides people along a very rigid line that in a cavern forms where it's really impossible to get across anymore to actually do any kind of bipartisan anything. And we see that now, simply because here recently with the Corey Lewandowski testimony, if that's what you want to call testimony, I really don't care because I didn't even watch it because it was pointless to watch because it was just another witch hunt to try to find and drum up any kind of rational reason to go to a vote in the House of Representatives to impeach the president. Now, we've seen that the recent Mueller report has come out, and of course that was bad for the Democrats because there was nothing in there. There was nothing new under the sun. And, I just really think that this whole thing is just tearing this entire country apart, and it's only going to get worse. I always say that it's only going to get worse if it continues. We obviously want to focus about the positive things in life and positive things about what's going on, but it's all part of an agenda to keep people kind of occupied, as it were, with these stories of racism and white supremacy. We want to keep it in the forefront. We want to keep it in the forefront of everyone's mind because the election is going to be coming up here pretty soon in about another year. Elections, the campaigning is going to be kicking off in full steam. Of course, once we get into the, after the first primaries, Democratic primaries, and all that, we find out who the official choice is going to be. I have no idea who it's going to be at this point. I think that everyone has. I think it could be Biden. I think it could be Kamala Harris. I think it could be Elizabeth Warren. It could be any one of those. It really could. I think that Elizabeth Warren and Kamala Harris probably have the best chance at this point. I think that Biden is being really thrown under the bus, and that's unfortunate for him, but maybe he's a little bit too old. I don't know. You could say the same thing about a lot of presidents, that they were just too old. But, that's like I said, it's a fine line between youth and wisdom, So we have to kind of take the good and we have to kind of take the good with the bad. But, as far as the debate goes, and what everyone's really talking about is just how everyone is just so inundated with this talk of white supremacy. If you look at the recent debates, they just couldn't just stop talking about it.
We need to root out racism. Racism in America.
The real question isn't who is or isn't a racist.
We know Donald Trump's a racist, but when racism exists, the question isn't who isn't a racist. It's who is and isn't doing something about racism. They can't condemn white supremacy. We have systemic racism.
To re-elect President Trump is at best looking the other way on racism.
Racially biased. We have more African Americans under criminal supervision today attacking systemic racism, having the courage to call it out and having a plan to do something about it. If I am president of the United States, we will create an office in the White House to deal with the problem of white supremacy.
White supremacy is a growing threat.
Racism is dealt with in.
So yeah, I mean that's really all you really got from the Democratic debates. It was I didn't really watch the whole thing. I just felt myself slowly getting angrier and angrier for watching it, wasting my time. And you know, I'm not susceptible to programming anymore. I know that a lot of people who out there are not either. And I'm not going to say that all Trump supporters are not susceptible to it. I think that there are a small faction of Trump supporters who really just don't have their stuff together. And I think that they support him just because I don't know. I mean, they have their own reasons. I mean, I have very particular reasons why I support the man. I'm not going to get into them all right now. And this isn't a video for that. This video is an idea that is not really thought of as much. So really, what am I talking about? When I first really came, across Trump was a very long time ago. He was still a Democrat at the time, and I really didn't think one way or the other of who Trump was. I was a Democrat at the time, and I believed in a lot of stuff he was talking about. I didn't want to be in war and stuff like that, and I still believe he thinks that. I still believe that he believes that. But however, this whole white supremacy and white guilt and the white privilege type of thing has been so overly played out in the spectrum right now, and I really just don't think that it's something that a lot of people are really buying into anymore. Hopefully that's the right thing, and I hope that it continues as such. I believe that everyone should be gauged and be evaluated and judged, I guess, for for lack of better words, on their own merits and who they are as a person, not their color. I mean, the whole speech with Martin Luther King was all about that. And Martin Luther King was obviously a brilliant genius when it came to that, and that's why he was assassinated, because he was bringing people together. As a lot of the great leaders out there, just like JFK, JFK was trying to expose the Federal Reserve and a lot of the underground, governmental shadow government that's controlling every single thing that we do for the most part, and he was trying to uncover that, and of course he was assassinated, and Trump is a little different. Trump is trying to get back to that America first type of mentality, where people are judged not based on their color, just by the content of their character and their determinism and everything, and by their own intelligence and what they can do and what they give to society. And that is a hard thing to accept for a lot of people, because we want this utopia where everyone's accepted and everyone loves everyone, and that would be great. But in order to get there, we have to go through a series of trials by fire. We have lived under the false pretense that that certain races are more privileged than the others. Now, you can make an argument both ways, but this is the one thing I wanted to posit to you today. The one thought I want you to take away before this video gets too long. What I want to get across to you is that Americans in general, I want to show you a article here from 1998. Being an American is a privilege, say white, African American, Hispanics, and foreign-born parents. Now, you won't ever see a type of article like this anymore. Not in this society. This was over 20 years ago. that I found this. I didn't find it 20 years ago. Found it, found it today. But this is a type of article you simply will not find anymore saying this type of stuff. A kind of a unity type of message. Simply being an American is a privilege. And that is the idea that I'm trying to deposit today. That has nothing to do with being white, has nothing to do with being black or any other color. That simply being an American in this country puts us light years ahead of a lot of people out there. Even the poorest of ours are light years ahead of a lot of the third world nations out there. We have this audacity and we have this luxury to be able to complain about some of the things that other people just simply don't have the time to even think about. We can take to the streets and we can talk about racial injustice, and we can talk about how they're mistreating chickens, and we can talk about climate change, and we can talk about the disparity between men and women as far as how much they're being paid. Of course, I can disprove that, but that's actually that's a subject for another video. But we had the luxury of actually taking a lot of these things and making them important in our lives. And I think that comment, we just really don't think about that on a daily basis, that as an entire country, as Americans in general, we are probably one of the most pampered, we are some of the most privileged people on earth, just simply living here. Why do you think so many people want to come to this country? It's not because we have the best food, I'll tell you that right now. It's not because of that. It's because that in this country, we have the ability and the freedom to do as we wish and as we choose, because we live under a constitutional republic, which allows us to spread our wings like eagles and fly. We do not live under an oppressive regime, a socialist or communist regime that basically dictates everything that we do. Now, we are surely getting close to that. We are getting dangerously close to going down a very dark road that could lead to something like that. We have seen a lot of the signposts that are leading the way to a more controlled and more subdued population and a more controlled society. This country was not built upon being controlled. That's why there was a revolution. And whether you like it to believe it or not, that revolution was based on biblical text. It wasn't a holy war, but it was a rebellion against the English monarchy that was misinterpreting the ideas of freedom. And we had different ideas of freedom. We had different ideas of warfare as well. But in this country, we have become so pampered, so inundated in this luxury type of lifestyle. Yes, there are poor people. Yes, there are people suffering. Yes, there are homeless people. And it is a tragedy. But overall, we have grown as a nation to where we have these types of luxuries, and we have this privilege to actually protest certain things that other people wouldn't even fathom. We have the ability to be upset about things. We have the ability and the luxury to have protest about which bathroom to use. It's just, the more you think about it, the more ridiculous it really sounds. And that's really what I'm trying to get across to you right now. You'll hear a lot of stuff about white privilege. You'll hear a lot of stuff about privilege in general. And of course, it lands squarely on the white population, because the whites, population makes up a significant portion of a majority of the population of this country. It's not the world, but of this country. So I really want you to think about that before, when all of this racism and white supremacy and all these types of ideas are being promulgated by the media and it's being injected into you on a daily basis. I want you to kind of think about what kind of privilege you have just being an American, not a certain race, because that's divisive. We are privileged as Americans because of all the things that I just said. And that is simply the reason why so many people want to come here. And I say that if they want to come here, absolutely great. But come here the legal way, obviously. Because if we don't have borders, and if we don't remain a sovereign nation, then all of the reasons that we are a proud and privileged Americans, they will fade off into the distance, along with the Republic and the Constitution for which it stands. Until next time, this is Joe with Simple Life Show. Don't forget, simpleliferemedy.com. .org is the website. Until next time, have a great day.